Jason, a very good evening to you, and thanks for your time. So, can you give us some idea of who is most affected by these ongoing hostilities at the moment?
Well, our number one concern is for the tens of thousands, actually hundreds of thousands of families are in the line of fire here. We have teams up in northeast Syria that are seeing the families that are fleeing, and they're telling us stories about how they're eating lunch one moment and the next moment they hear these terrible explosions close by. They grab their children and they start fleeing, as most anyone would do, but then the question is, where do they go? And that's creating a humanitarian crisis.
So where are they going at the moment?
They're going somewhere safe, which is away from any type of fighting that's taking place. They're ending up either with family or with friends, or somehow, a friend's connection, but also hundreds of families just end up in a school, actually, or many schools, and we have teams that are handing out food and blankets and mattresses to these families that just got caught up in this fighting and left as soon as they could, and now they don't have anything, so we're assisting there.
Okay, so how easy is it for you to actually assist? I mean, we have the Kurdish-led administration saying humanitarian conditions are getting worse by the day. How is that hampering your work? I mean, the ongoing attacks and also the conditions that you're seeing.
Well, the International Red Cross always works with the permission of whatever authorities are in charge in a location, and we do have permission to be operating in northeast Syria. So we do have teams there. We are handing out assistance, but we don't have as much available to us as there are people in need. Of course, this fighting is only a couple days old. We can't just drop in the tens of thousands of items that are needed, but we're doing as much as we can.
Yeah, and Jason, just give us some idea. I mean, you're working there. That's the Red Cross. Which other organizations are there at the moment?
I don't have a full list for you. We're working alongside the Syrian Arab Red Crescent, so that's another Red Cross, Red Crescent partner. There are other organizations there, but it's a difficult place to work, so you might not find as many as you could in, say, a natural disaster where you would have a full run of organizations that we've become familiar with over the years in the aid community.
And we're seeing reports of water shortages, which apparently are going to become a critical issue very shortly. What are you seeing in terms of that?
Well, you're right. It could become a huge issue, and that's what we're fearful of and we have an eye on. In this area of northeast Syria, there's just a few major water points that serve very large areas, tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, and just large communities. So if this water infrastructure were to somehow be hit or targeted in the fighting that's happening, that would have tragic consequences. There's actually one town called Hasaka, about 400,000 people there. The water system is very precarious. The Syrian Arab Red Crescent and ICRC, it's the International Red Cross, we're both working on it, and we think we're going to have a solution, but if we don't, that's a lot of people without water, and then we'll have another sort of chapter to the crisis situation.
I mean, I know that you're not involved in the politics of all of this, Jason, but I mean, at one time we were so focused on Syria and what was happening, and then it just seemed interest waned. And is that a big part of the problem there? Is that it's kind of been, the crisis there has kind of been forgotten and downplayed to some extent?
The International Red Cross is working in conflict areas all over the world, and what you've hit on here is happening not only in Syria but in lots of places, and including there in Africa. If you think about the conflict in DRC, if you think about the conflict in South Sudan or Somalia, your viewers know that these conflicts have been going on for not only years but in some cases decades. And everyone does lose interest because it's sort of the same headline day after day. The violence in Syria has been going on for 8 years. This unfortunately leads to so your average person, which then fuels government policy, both on the aid front but maybe on the political pressure front, and things sort of stagnate. Attention has come or back around to Syria after such a long time of conflict because there is sort of this new front that's opened up, and that's good. But you're right that these people who are suffering from long conflict have been forgotten in the past few years.
All right, we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Thank you very much there. That's Jason Straz-Yuzo. He's from the Red Cross in Geneva at the moment, just telling us what's happening there, the crisis situation there in Syrian Kurdish territory.